boys and girls, it's time to play the game. That's right. The game tonight is Damn You, Hollywood. And I'm your host, the Mandator Reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified to Mr. Mark Rattledge. You might be wondering, is this my beautiful house? You might also be wondering, where the hell is Robert Winfrey? It can't just be Mark tonight. Oh, God, let it not be Mark tonight. Oh, fuck, it's really Mark tonight. What are we going to do? Robert Winfrey was not able to make it to see Hellboy. And now you might be thinking, turnabout is fair play, isn't it, Rattledge? No, he really tried. He really tried, according to him, to go see the movie. He had every intention of seeing this piece of shit. And unfortunately, his car hit the skids, and he was not able to, because he usually goes on Cheap Tuesday. You know Tuesdays. Tuesdays is like half price. You can pay in cheap, whatever the case may be. That's the time he usually goes, but his car was not available, and so he was not available to see the movie in time to do this here review. So I've tagged in a relief pitcher. Maybe he's a catcher. We'll find out. Ladies and gentlemen, good friend of the show. And the last time we did this, I had the audio all fucked up, so this time you'll actually be able to hear him, hopefully. Or this is going to be yet another episode of Mark Goes Insane laughing at his own jokes. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Ronnie Adams. How do you do, sir?
Hey, Mark, it's been a while.
It has been a while, sir. This is like your yearly appearance. You know, springtime comes in, the rains come back, the flowers are in bloom, the bees are buzzing, and in comes Ronnie Adams.
I just float in with the pollen.
Should I blame you for the reason why I've been sick lately? No, just kidding. Just kidding.
No, because the only reason, if you can't beat it, join it, I guess. It's my car has gone from blue to a sickly green.
Oh my God, have you seen some of the pictures out there where there's just been tons of pollen and it just looks gross?
Mm-hmm.
Terrible. All right, let me ask. So we're here to talk about Hellboy tonight, the 2019 reboot. There were two other Hellboy movies, 2004 and 2008. There's Hellboy and Hellboy 2: The Golden Shower, and then they decided that they were going to do a third one, and then Guillermo del Toro wasn't coming back, so they just started all over again and rebooted the whole project, and so here we are. Though this didn't feel like a reboot. It just felt like this could have been the third part of the franchise, just with a new actor. But that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Hellboy 2019. Let me ask you first, Ronnie Adams, formerly of the Screaming Boy podcast. Did you
necessarily formally? We're actually shifting a little. We'll talk about that later.
All right. Now, did you read the old Dark Horse comics? Are you familiar with this property?
I have in the past, and tried to here recently. When I say tried to, I just haven't had time to sit down and to dedicate to it. I enjoy it. It's good. It's something different. It's not necessarily a superhero book, but it is, if that makes sense.
I am of the opinion, and I base this on absolutely nothing, so you tell me if I'm right or not, that this iteration of Hellboy is closer to the comic than the Guillermo del Toro pictures.
Absolutely.
Okay. I kind of figured that. Because the little bit of Hellboy that I've read, I'm like, see, this new one feels a little bit more authentic than the one I just watched and slept halfway through.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I don't want to besmirch Ron Perlman, because I am a Ron Perlman fan, but I feel like David Harbour kind of got it. Well, you can't really compare the two because they play it differently.
Mm-hmm.
Almost. David Harbour himself said that he plays it as Hellboy being a teenager, trying to find his own way, trying to figure out if he's a good person, quote unquote person or not. So there is definitely a different feeling to it. It's not hard to explain. It's just hard for somebody who doesn't really use their brain a lot to explain, like me.
All right. Robert Winfrey's not here to do the plot synopsis, and I'm not going to lie, there were parts of this I kind of nodded off during. God, sleep apnea is fun, isn't it, children? So I'm just going to go ahead and read through the wiki here, so bear with me. It's plot synopsis by wiki. Here we go. During the age of King Arthur, Nimue, the Blood Queen, is betrayed by her coven and dismembered by Merlin and King Arthur, who scatter her remains across Europe. In the present day, Hellboy travels to Tijuana to find Ruiz, a missing agent. Hellboy discovers that Ruiz was turned into a vampire, like you do, and reluctantly kills him. Grugach, a hog-like beast, seeks advice from Baba Yaga to exact revenge on Hellboy. She suggests restoring Nimue and gives him the locations of her remains. 3 weeks later, Hellboy returns to the BPRD in America. His adopted father, Trevor Brutenholm, sends him to England to aid the Osiris Club in hunting 3 giants. The club's seer, Lady Hatton, reveals to Hellboy that Brutenholm found him on an island during World War II after the Nazis summoned him. Hellboy joins the giant hunters but is betrayed by them. He loses consciousness after the giants arrive and kills the hunters. Meanwhile, Grugach kills several monks as he retrieves the head of Nimue, who tells him where to find her other pieces. They threw my arm over there, and they threw my leg over there. Hellboy regains consciousness and battles the giants. He loses consciousness again as he is rescued by a young woman. He wakes up in the woman's flat, whom he recognizes as Alice Monaghan. Monaghan. A girl he once rescued from fairies and who acquired medium powers as a result. Like you do. A SWAT team then invades the flat at Brutenholm's request. He brushes off Hellboy's concerns and reveals to him that someone has taken Nimue's remains and is likely to find the last piece at the Osiris Club. Hellboy is introduced to an M11 agent, Ben Dynamite?
We'll go with that.
On Brutenholm's orders, Alice joins the team. They find everyone at the club slaughtered. Alice channels her powers to communicate with Lady Hatton, who reveals that Nimue plans to find a king and raise the apocalypse. Hellboy runs into Grugach holding Nimue's arm. Grugach escapes after Nimue distracts Hellboy and appeals to his frustrations. He reveals to Alice and Dime Store that Grugach was the creature who stole Alice as a baby and whom he branded with iron. After this, Grugach swore revenge. Daimyo takes them to M11's headquarters. While Daimyo secretly acquires a special bullet to kill Hellboy, the latter confronts Brutenholm as to why he didn't kill him years before. Brutenholm claims he saw potential in him. Dissatisfied with the answer, Hellboy leaves but is magically transported to Baba Yaga's house. In exchange for an eye, seems reasonable, she reveals the location where Nimue plans to restore herself. Hellboy reneges on the agreement and Baba Yaga curses him. On the way to Nimue's location, Daimyo reveals to Alice that he was the sole survivor of a were-jaguar attack. Nimue kills the witches who betrayed her, except for one. While Alice and Daimyo battle zombies, Hellboy confronts Nimue, who subdues him. She poisons Alice, allowing herself to escape. The surviving witch directs the team to Merlin, believing he can save her. Merlin cures Alice and reveals that Hellboy's mother was human and a descendant of King Arthur. Merlin offers him Excalibur, but refuses it after receiving a vision of himself using the sword to raise the apocalypse. Nimue attacks London with her plague-like powers. The trio return to M11 headquarters where they find everyone dead. D-E-D, dead. And Brutenholm missing. They reach St. Paul's Cathedral where Nimue is hiding, only to be confronted by Grugach. Daimyo transforms into his jaguar form and aids Hellboy. Nimue kills Grugach and pleads with Hellboy to side with her. Poor Grugach, by the way.
No.
After he went through all this trouble putting this witch back together, she fucking kills him. So it's like, that's so long and thanks for all the fish, Piggy. Pleads with Hellboy to side with her. After he refuses, she propels him into a hidden crypt, revealing King Arthur's tomb and Excalibur. After Nimue kills Brutenholm, Hellboy pulls Excalibur, causing the demons to rise as he kill as he assumes his true form. Yeah, this is pretty gross, this whole sequence. Alice channels Brutenholm's spirit, who appeals to Hellboy's humanity. Hellboy then decapitates Nimue, because why not? Because that's the way he demonstrates humanity. Sending all the demons and Nimue's head back to hell. Hellboy and Brutenholm exchange farewells. Daimyo gets rid of the special bullet. 6 months later, the trio raid a cult club where they find the water tank of Abe Sapien, who was all over the original movie. In a mid-credit scene, Hellboy meets his hero, Lobster Johnson, who was at this year's WrestleMania, at Brutenholm's grave. In a post-credit scene, Baba Yaga talks to Koshai, asking for his help in exchange for him giving him a chance to die. Alrighty, I'm gonna defer you, but you play me. I'll play Robert Winfrey. How does that sound?
A little bit,
huh?
Let's unpack this whole thing a little bit.
What did you think? What were your expectations going into the movie? Were they met? And what did you think of the film overall?
I can honestly say I had no expectations in this movie, other than it be a little more true to the comic book than the previous iteration of Hellboy. Now, I'm a fan of the of the Del Toro, Hellboy franchise, or well, I can't really call 2 movies a franchise, can you?
Sure.
Well, okay, we'll say the Del Toro franchise. So it was. I'm not besmirching it at by any means, but it wasn't. I don't know. While I enjoyed Perlman, it didn't feel. It didn't feel right, but it was very lighthearted as well. Del Toro, as you know, he's a big fan of practical effects as well as I mean, you can't deny he uses digital effects as well, but this one was completely digital. But as far as any expectations, I didn't really have any. I just really wanted it to be fun. When I went in, I did not even check. I was really surprised because I didn't check the rating before I went in. I just went. And when Ian McShane drops an F-bomb within the first 15 seconds, I was like, huh, well, there's your one. And then it's on, and I was like, wait a second. And then I realized it was R, and it was a very hard R as far as gore and language. It was much gorier than the previous Hellboy. It was more violent. And there was a lot of good little one-liners and stuff in there, but I would say Perlman has Harbor beat on that.
Yeah, I almost brought my daughter to this because it's just the way my schedule was. I might have needed to take a kid with me, and I was like, "Oh, it'll be fine." Hellboy is, a comic book character, like really not knowing anything about it. I'm like, "Oh, it'll be fine." I'm always like, "You might want to check the rating on that one, big guy." And I see it's rated R, and I'm like, "All right then."
Yeah, no, it wasn't. It was not a movie for the children's. It was
no, sir.
It was actually almost not a movie for the Ronnies.
Really? No. Extrapolate on that. What do you mean it wasn't a movie for the Ronnies? What about it was disconcerting for you?
As far as that goes, the gore, man, just the gore factor. Now, I don't shy away from it.
Mm-hmm.
a lot of my favorite movies are pretty violent and bloody. Let's take Quentin Tarantino, my favorite director. So he is known for his his bloody takes on everything, and so it was. But seeing people ripped in half and heads bitten off and just people mercilessly slaughtered in the streets made me a little uneasy. But I just kind of said, well, this movie is pretty pretty fantastical, I guess you could say. So I just kind of went with it.
Yeah, I was not expecting it to be gross. Was the comic gross?
Not that I can remember.
Okay.
This sounds really weird. Sometimes it's a little different on print for me than it is actually, not actually seeing, but seeing it on film. What I mean by that is, if it's on print, if it's too gross or whatever, I just kind of look over it to the next panel. When it's right there in front of me, it's kind of emblazoned into my skull, into my mind, that, oh my gosh, that man just got wishboned by from hell. I mean, like the guy, he picked up a guy by the leg, one of these demons, and then grabbed his other leg and just ripped him in half.
Yep.
And just all of his insides flew out, And it wasn't like stylized comic book, I guess you could say, fantasy gore. This was like, you saw intestines and stuff.
Yeah, it was like gutting fish.
Yeah, it was not. It was like one of those things where, okay, I watched a movie, Terrifier, I think it was called. It's an independent movie, and that's one of the ones that, as it's well documented, knowing that I don't turn off movies. I almost turned that one off because it was. I mean, like, this demonic clown decided to take a chainsaw to a girl, crotch to cranium, and so it was like one of those things where I was like, okay, this needs to go away, not come back.
So this iteration of Hellboy is an amalgamation of 4 books: Darkness Calls, The Wild Hunt, The Storm and the Fury, and Hellboy in Mexico. Did you read any of those?
That's a good question. I read a lot that I don't remember. I didn't read Hellboy in Mexico. I know that. I read parts of, or if not all of, The Wild Hunt and a few others, but I wouldn't be able to tell you the title of them because it's kind of one of those things. They were digital, so I just picked it up and read it.
How does the movie do with incorporating the source material into the film?
It did pretty well from what I can remember. Absolutely.
Better than the Guillermo del Toro versions?
Yeah. Unfortunately, yes. I'm still a big fan, but there were no ninja elves in this, so...
So for my money, I've never read any of the Hellboy comics except for I flipped through a couple when I was trying to figure out what we were going to do this week when I was creating the calendar back in 1985.
Yeah, I figured that.
Yeah, you know the deal. And
I bought you your home.
But we read for source material this week. Batman Hellboy Starman. And
that was a pick.
Yeah, I was looking for something fun off the beaten path, I might have picked one of these 4 books had I realized that that's what the film was being based on at the time. I probably would have gone with Hellboy in Mexico just because Lucha Libre. But going into it, though, I really went into it kind of cold. Like, I don't know what to expect here. I'm really only going because I do a podcast where we review new movies and a lot of comic book related stuff. So As far as, so I went into it and I barely remembered the first Guillermo del Toro movie, and and to this day, even though we're reviewing it Thursday for Long Road to Ruin, I still haven't seen The Golden Circle.
Really?
Yeah, I need to watch it before Thursday. I don't know when that's going to happen. Because tune in Thursday to see if I make it. Place your bets, ladies and gentlemen. But my impressions really quick, and then we'll move on to the money. I don't want to be here all night. Neither does Ronnie. I mean, it was fine. It was gross. It was a kind of a. I liked the interpretation of Hellboy as a character struggling with its own humanity. Am I good, or am I a good boy, or aren't I? I loved the use of the horns. Yeah. Like more so than Ron Perlman's, who just seemed like he had two big bumps on his head and they didn't do anything with it. Like his are constantly growing. He is shaving it down. It was a metaphor for him trying to keep the evil inside of him. I loved the scenes where he had Excalibur and he was raising the apocalypse. I thought those were beautifully rendered scenes. And I love the idea of when his horns grow out, he has like a fire crown and everything. I thought that all looked great, but that him wrestling with this thing inside of him, like he doesn't want to be Satan. Mm-hmm. He doesn't want to be this incredibly destructive creature. I loved all that. I loved his relationship with the father. I wasn't a huge fan of the gross.
Yeah.
The whole the end sequence there, where the demons are all running around England and tearing people in half and spiking them and all of that. I was like, I could have lived without this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I get what they were going for. I mean,
it certainly differentiates itself from the previous material.
Yeah, R-rated comic book movies are kind of all in vogue right now. With Deadpool. I think they're working on a series based on The Boys, which I know is just going to be absolutely crazy.
Next year they're doing Bloodshot.
They're doing Bloodshot, yeah, because I think Vin Diesel is up for Bloodshot.
Yep.
And then they're all these R-rated comic movies based on comic books. So I get what they were going for, and I can appreciate what they were trying to do. They were trying to set themselves aside, and they did so. Is it going to win any awards? No. Obviously, we see that with the Rotten Tomatoes score and the IMDb score, with all these movie critics and wannabe movie critics panning it, saying, "Oh, it's not Grapes of Wrath or Gone with the Wind." Well, no, it's not. It's called Hellboy. And it's based about, Nazis bringing about somebody who's going to...
Yeah, I think the movie's being unfairly criticized. I think, I think a lot of the critics feel like everything should be a Marvel movie,
right.
or Deadpool or whatever, which is a Marvel character. This didn't have a light touch. This wasn't particularly comedic. It's not something I would bring children to. But it was, it was what it was. And if you... as Jim Cornette would say, if you're the kind of person that likes the sort of thing, then this is the sort of thing that those kind of people like. I think if I could criticize any aspect of the movie beyond the fact that it was gross, it's that it's also not particularly special. The best part about it is David Harbour's portrayal of Hellboy. Mm-hmm. And when he's not wrestling with his humanity, the movie just is. It has no particular aesthetic other than the very end. Mila Jovovich is...
she's passable.
Wasted was what I was going for.
Oh, okay.
I don't feel like she had enough to do, and when she was on screen, she's just, she's begging for her man to come home.
Yeah.
That was it. And then she lost her head again.
That character wasn't really... fleshed out, I guess you could say, no pun intended.
Yeah.
But there wasn't, she wasn't the big bad that she needed to be.
Yeah.
She needed to be, the antagonist, and then we did get a Hellboy Big Pig fight, which was kind of awesome.
Yep.
The special effects were really good. They surpassed what I thought they were going to be, except for the scorpion at the beginning of the movie. That was just god awful. I don't know who decided to do that. When he's getting drunk in Mexico, and he's letting a scorpion crawl across him. Did I have fun in it? Parts of it, absolutely. I thought David Harbour was a really good Hellboy.
Mm.
I thought that the dynamic with him and his dad was really good. But I don't know. It almost seemed lacking at times.
Yeah, I was mildly entertained, I think what would be the way I would look at it. Mildly entertained.
That's fair.
Imminently forgettable.
I'm going to go a little deeper than that. I was saying that I don't think it's going to be forgettable for me. It's one that I would definitely watch on Netflix or maybe rent on Amazon Prime just to watch it again, especially to see the scene where Hellboy's got his horns and everything. That was just an incredible scene with the special effects and him bringing forth the apocalypse and everything else. It was a really cool scene. So I enjoyed that. It was. I mean, I can't say anything other than I felt in some points it was lacking. Not due to the talent they had in the movie, but definitely due to something in the script, So it was fun. I enjoyed it. Would I recommend people to go see it? With a heavy disclaimer.
All right. So with that, let's talk about the money.
Money.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money.
Dollar.
All right, we're doing good on time, by the way. I love it. You know why? Because you and I aren't spending most of the podcast fighting with each other.
It's true. Guys, but you and Winfrey, it's like Daddy needs to stop smacking Mommy at the dinner table.
On a budget of $50 million, this thing's made $23.3 million. It was the number 2 for the weekend. It did not beat Shazam. Shazam was number 1 again, if I remember correctly. Oh, God, I hate that my computer does that. Yeah, Shazam stayed at number 1. Actually, no, Hellboy debuted at number 3. Something called Little. But the Little is the
animated.
No, Little is the African American version of Big.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's reverse Big. But now that I remember, it's the older woman has forgotten what it's like to be a child, and so the kid says, "I wish you were little," and so the big corporate executive turns into a little kid.
So it's basically The Kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Bruce Willis.
Yes, I didn't see that, but yes.
Yeah, well, he meets his younger self, so you know what? That movie kind of sucked too, so never mind.
All right. So Shazam, second week at number 1. Little debuted at number 2, which made Hellboy debut at number 3. Here's my take on Hellboy. I think that at this point, I don't think the comic is around anymore. I mean, it's around. You can buy trades, but I don't think it's an active comic. Am I right about that?
Pretty sure, yes.
Okay, so its popularity has since dwindled. So you have the original fans of the book, but most people have moved on at this point. I feel like this is yet another property where they thought, okay, well, on name alone, it'll draw an audience because people used to like Hellboy. But like a lot of things, those people move on. They're not available to you. Now if this had been made for Netflix, it probably would have been better. If it had been on Netflix or Hulu or whatever, made for a streaming channel, it probably would have garnered an audience because a lot of people watch movies at home now. Like The Dirt, for example, which we reviewed a few weeks ago. There's a lot of movies that would never have done well in the theater, but because people now have home theaters and are less likely to go to the movies unless it's something like The Avengers.
Yeah. The Avengers, things like that.
Right. So I feel like Hellboy was a few years way too late for an audience that was niche to begin with.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think the producer of this really misread the market for the movie.
Yeah.
Well, so, go ahead.
It's really sad because while, like I said, it's not in my top 5, maybe not even my top 10 of superhero movies, or comic book movies. Mm-hmm. I really would like to see a sequel because I feel like, much like the character of Hellboy, this movie was trying to find its place,
right?
Trying to figure out who it is, and hopefully they give it a chance to do that before they get rid of it.
Well, I hope that some of these smaller studios like Lionsgate start putting together some more deals with some of these streaming services, to provide, especially with Disney Plus coming. Disney Plus is going to be such a monster that for Hulu and Netflix to even survive, they're going to need name brand content, since a lot of the content that both of them rest their laurels on is now about to be the exclusive property of Disney Plus.
Yeah,
who's got its own original material coming to bear. So, I would tell you that if they deign to make a Hellboy 2, which if it gets to 100 million, then maybe. At least then it would have been profitable. Maybe Lionsgate would be better served making a straight to Netflix sequel. But that's just me. Maybe somebody else out there would argue that that's not really a great idea for Lionsgate. But with the landscape changing for movies and streaming services at a rapid rate, I don't know what the counter argument would be.
I'm a David Harbour fan, so I kind of like to see this keep going, just because I know he was super excited about this role, put a lot of work physically, and I read interviews and read things where he was constantly texting the creator, Mike Mignola, about how Hellboy would think about this and what he would do with this, and he feels like he put a lot into this role. So I would really like for it to get a little more fleshed out for his sake, if not anything else. Also, just like I said, and you said, it's not being fairly judged.
We're going to get to that when we get to Rotten Tomatoes. Let's put a pin in it. For right now, the weekend went like this. Like I said, Shazam, Little Hellboy, Pet Sematary fell from 2 to 4, Dumbo 3 to 5, Captain Social Justice Warrior 5 to 6, Us 4 to 7. After debuted at number 8, Missing Link, which was the new animated film by some studio no one's ever heard of.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
That debuted at number 9, and The Best of Enemies fell from 6 to 10. Rounding out the top 20 are Unplanned, 5 Feet Apart, Hotel Mumbai, Wonder Park, The Mustang Sally, How to Train Your Dragon 3, Amazing Grace, Tyler Perry Dies, The Lego Movie Part 2, and debuting at number 20 was Mia and the White Lion from Lita Films. Fantastic. Where we stand for the year so far, not a whole lot of changes from where we were last week when we looked at Shazam. Shazam
was phenomenal.
Yes, it was.
It's well deserving of that number 1 spot.
Captain Marvel's still number 1 with over $1 billion. That's about to get overtaken by Endgame. The Wandering Earth is still number 2. That's a movie from Chinese Chinaman. How to Train Your Dragon is still up there at number 3. Alita Battle Angel is still hanging in there at number 4 with 400 million.
Which I liked.
Dumbo is actually making a little bit of change, a little bit of cheddar. It's about to get knocked out of the top 10, though. At 269, Shazam, it's making its way in the world today. It's taking everything it's got, though, at 260 million. We talked about that last week. It's got a $100 million budget. It's already slated for a sequel. It's already profitable. Does it make the $1 billion that Aquaman made? Probably not. I think this thing peters out maybe at 500 million. Might be a little less. We'll see. Glass is still hanging in there from January at 246 million. That's going to get kicked out of the top 10 shortly. Us is kicking ass and taking names at 236 million. The Lego Movie at number 9 with with 186 million, and some piece of shit's called Escape Room by Sony.
I saw that, and I didn't mind it.
Sony's only top 10 entry right now is at 154 million. That's about to get knocked way, how far out? Way out.
Hey.
This weekend, I believe, is nothing. So there's another opportunity to, there's all that's coming out this weekend is The Curse of La Llorona, Breakthrough, which is the big religious movie where the kid falls through the ice and the large woman prays to Jesus. And then Disney's got a nature movie documentary coming out called Penguin. So, for Shazam, Dumbo, Hellboy, for all of these movies we've been talking about for the past month, this is the last weekend where whatever money they're going to make, they need to make it now, because the following weekend is Avengers. And Avengers is going to suck the life out of everything like a vampire on vacation.
That's true. Oh, I can't wait.
It's going to destroy everything in its path and leave nothing alive. So get in while you still can. And then following Avengers is Detective Pikachu. That's going to be a big hit for Warner Brothers because the kids, they like the Pokemon and they like the Ryan Reynolds. I
think you like the Ryan Reynolds and the kids like the Pokemon.
No, that's Gavin.
Well, yeah, I didn't say love.
Then there's John Wick, and then there's Aladdin. So May's a pretty stacked month. It's going to be hard for the smaller movies to exist and make some money, while everyone's going to see these big ticket pictures. So Shazam, Dumbo, Hellboy, we're rooting for you. Go make that money. Get some people in there because you have a week left to live. All right. You're all going to die. All righty. It is time to roast the critics.
Are you ready? No! I said, are you ready?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
All right, Ronnie, you need to get that Robert Winfrey dander up. You ready? Ready to get angry?
Whenever you talk about critics, dander is completely up.
Chris Schilling of Total Film. Hellish, more like.
You're a douche, Chris. That's all I need to say.
Preston Barda of Fresh Fiction. While David Harbour does his best as our new beefy red hero, he can't save Hellboy from collapsing on screen.
What did you say he was from?
Fresh Fiction.
Is that a real thing?
I don't think so.
Or is that did he angel fire that website up? Because I don't know him and I don't know his website or his publication or whatever it's called. And really, what he says has no bearing on what I like and whatever, So, have you ever made it? Have you ever made a movie? Am I doing good?
You're doing all right.
Oh, okay.
Grace Randolph of Beyond the Trailer. Why reboot if you're just going to retread Del Toro's work?
But they didn't.
Wait, I'm not done yet. This plays more like a streaming show than a movie, and I say this with respect, is gloriously gruesome if you're into that.
Your face is like a streaming show. But no, for real. I mean, that's a completely unfair judgment on her part. Her, right? On this person's part, because they tried to stay away from Del Toro's work. They actively said, we are trying to separate ourselves from Del Toro, and I did not get a Del Toro vibe from this, from any of the script, other than it being the exact same hero, comic book character, hero, whatever. But the visuals were different, the costume was different. It was just like you said, the horns were completely glossed over in Del Toro's, but in this one, it was, they showed him shaving him. They showed, they made him more jagged and gave it more definition of, I don't like who I could be, so I'm trying to get rid of that. So that's dumb.
Bill Waters of Bleeding Cool.
I just skip over this. I don't like it.
Hellboy is a good film trapped in the body of a terrible one. It almost manages to escape a few times, but then gets beaten back down to hell.
You almost managed to make sense in that statement.
Jennifer Heaton of Alternative Lens. Hellboy wants to be Deadpool, but in execution it's much closer to Suicide Squad. It's cynical and unfocused and clearly thrown together from a production amidst chaos.
I will give you unfocused to a point. No, I won't even give you that, because it really was focused, because it was a character piece more than it was anything else. Him trying to figure out who he is. But this is another person and website I've never heard of, so I don't care.
Sean Movahill of fanboynation.com. This reboot plays out like some kind of ancient curse that arises when a spell has been incanted wrongly, as pretty much nothing goes right for Hellboy aside from the spirited performance of its star.
The name of the website says it all. Go back to your basement.
Let's see. Let's find some good ones here. Oh, Dan Merle of Screen Junkies. This fuck nugget.
Actually, I have a friend that worked for Screen Junkies.
Was he molested too?
No, I don't. I should probably read the news more. Because I'm completely flabbergasted at what you just said.
We'll talk offline.
Okay.
I'm making a very unfair joke, but yes, there were some accusations.
You?
Yeah, I know. The devil, right? Dan Merle of Screen Junkies, home of the fuck nuggets. One of the most incomprehensible theatrical experiences I've had in my lifetime. You douche nozzle.
Wow, really? Really incomprehensible. One of the most incomprehensible. Did you see the Fantastic Four reboot? You incredible douche.
I have seen a lot of movies in the past few years where the plot just didn't make sense. This made sense. I think that was my thing. Like, I walked out of it and I'm like, well, that was a movie that I saw.
Yeah.
It was definitely not incomprehensible.
No.
Let's see. Corey Coleman of Double Toasted. Lending itself to nothing. It goes around killing people for no reason. Pointless.
They are demons from hell. Do you want them to have some sort of intricate backstory? And, this is why I kill, because my demon parents didn't love me enough.
Deirdre Crimmins of High Def Digest. This stifled Hellboy isn't even the worst part of the movie. The bloated plot is. Or it could be the distractingly bad CGI. No, actually, I think the worst part of Hellboy is the non-stop exposition.
My head hurts. To me, that seems like a lot of big words trying to sound important, except for bad CGI. I will give him bad CGI in the first part of the movie, the Scorpion. But I just... unfair.
Lee Monson of birth.movies.death. Hellboy is some very ill-advised cinema. And those who enjoy the prospect of cinematic train wrecks are likely to get some joy out of this. Everyone else, well, you all know where to find the better version. I don't necessarily agree that Guillermo del Toro's are definitively better than this one. I thought there was a lot of things done in this movie that were better than the original Hellboy.
Absolutely. I think, I think a lot of these people have their panties in a bunch about Del Toro's work being rebooted and there not being a third Del Toro movie.
Yeah, I would tell you that if Del Toro made this exact movie, like this, instead of saying directed by whoever directed this, and it said directed by Guillermo del Toro, and it was literally shot for shot the same movie, you would not nearly have as much criticism.
Oh, they would be pooping themselves out of joy.
Right. Jeremy Johns of jeremyjohns.com. Here, I'll say it for one.
Hold on. That's the best you can do, Jeremy?
Well, I'll say it for Winfrey since he isn't here. You self-employed douchebag.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
That's his bit.
Yeah.
The editing, the stitching, the weaving of the story, it's pretty sloppy in this movie.
Much like this review.
Jay Hurtado of Screen Anarchy. This Hellboy... Yes, Nelly Furtado. She's like a bird. She only flies away. This Hellboy may be fresh out of the inferno, but he's still half-baked. Did you get paid to write that sentence?
No, he's self-employed. He gave him $5 for it.
No, remember, this is Screen Anarchy. This is from JeremyJohns.com.
I was just still focused on the fact that Jeremy Johns at JeremyJohns.com. I mean,
Matthew Norman of the London Evening Standard. If it was my call, I'd write nothing about the movie and leave this space blank for readers' notes.
Why don't you do that for every review? Just leave them blank.
Yeah.
I mean, I am particularly harsh in my thinking, in my judgment of movie critics, because I think a lot of these people who are paid are looking for masterpieces where they shouldn't be. And the others that have their own website named after themselves are just incredible douche canoes.
Jordan Rumi of World of Real. One of the very worst movies you will see all year. No, sir, that was Dumbo.
One of the worst movies you'll see all year.
Yeah, Dumbo.
Gosh, it's April, first of all. I'm sure there's plenty coming out. I'm trying to think of one I've seen that is worse.
Dumbo.
I've not seen Dumbo, actually.
Don't go see Dumbo. It's terrible.
I was afraid of that, and I don't want anything to taint the original, which I still hold dear in my heart.
Go listen to mine and Robert's review of Dumbo. We've never gotten along so well tearing a movie apart.
I've yet to do that because, but that's next on the list, I think.
Rohan Nahar of the Hindustan Times. We love this guy because he's the one that comes up with the Trumpy reviews and shit like that. Yeah. Sometimes we're not entirely sure he knows what he's watching. So for this one, he said, "May it rot in hell."
That's it?
Yeah.
That's it.
That's all that's here, yes. He got paid to write that sentence.
Yeah. And it's called Hellboy, you moron. So you might have given it a compliment.
Rashid Irani of the Hindustan Times. There are no thrills, no emotional core, just an excess of subplots and gore. He completely misses the guy struggling with his own humanity.
There are... Okay. I mean, I got nothing for that.
Let's see. Katie Walsh, this vagina. Top critic. Tribune News Service. There's some of these I'll read just because I hate the reviewer. I don't even know what they said about it.
Right.
This all hurdles at a relentless, unforgiving pace, glued together with many, many crunchy guitar licks. You don't so much as watch this movie as submit to being pummeled by it.
I'll agree with that. I will agree that you are pummeled by this. This movie beat me into submission at some points with the gore and the violence and the. But it wasn't like I was putting up much of a fight.
Chris Stuckman of ChrisStuckman.com. Everybody, you self-employed douchebag.
I was trying to, but I was laughing.
David Harbour is good, but this is nowhere near as good as his previous Hellboy projects.
Of course.
Right.
Get off Del Toro's jock.
Yeah, yep. Everybody sucks Del Toro's dick. Everybody sucks Del Toro's dick. All right.
Oh. That was different.
Three more of our Mount Rushmore of terrible critics. Roger Moore of Movie Nation.
Oh, gosh.
Robert Winfrey's spiritual father. A fecal matter weather event of a film fiasco.
Now, that was inventive.
Yes.
As wrong as it is, that was inventive. I mean, I'll have to give that to him. But
James Berardinelli of Real Views, top critic. Comparing it to Del Toro's 2004 original and 2008 sequel is like making an analogy between a Broadway production and a high school stage show.
Yet again, inventive, but get your head out of Del Toro's butt and look, it's like they all are a hive mind. All of these critics. And there's one person pulling their strings. And it's like some neckbeard sitting in their mother's basement somewhere going, oh, I don't like this because it's not Del Toro. And then everybody else is like, oh, it's not Del Toro. Let's write this.
And last but not least, good old Grandpa. Joe Morgenstern of the Wall Street Journal, top critic.
Wait. I just have to revel in the fact that the Wall Street Journal is reviewing something named Hellboy.
No one needed another Hellboy, let alone a wretched contraption whose single-word title suggests it's an original, rather than the cynical enterprise it proves to be. And let me add, get off my lawn.
David Harbour, get off my lawn. I'm going to keep that ball next time it comes in here.
Oh, old man Morgenstern. You entertain us so. All right, that's all for this abbreviated episode of Damn You Hollywood. It was abbreviated because there wasn't a whole lot to say about the subject matter. Number one, and number two, Robert Winfrey and I weren't here to drag this out well longer than it needed to be.
Waldorf was missing his Statler tonight, so he didn't.
With that being said, what the hell is this? Oh, that's the ticket pre-sales. I don't give a shit about this. Sorry, got distracted by something on my calendar which shouldn't have been there. All right, tomorrow, as the Metal Hammer of Doom, Overkill, The Wings of War. Are you an Overkill fan? Do you listen to much of the 80s thrash?
Can't say that I do.
Have you ever heard of Overkill before, or is this one of those things where you don't believe the band exists?
Believe it or not, I believe it exists because I have heard of them.
Very good. So, yes.
They're ones you review do not exist. I think you ran out of bands for a while, and you're just like, hey!
We're
a good name.
We're reviewing Fuck Nugget Incorporated. Have fun!
Yeah. Drink, Motor to Will, and Die released their new album tonight.
So tomorrow night, we're gonna welcome you to New Jersey, you fucks. Well, there's a song on here called. You have not listened to the new Metal Hammer of Doom Extra, have you?
No, I haven't yet.
Okay, so we did a review of their Welcome to the Garden State, which was a black and white video of them showing signs in places in New Jersey. So we decided that they have to end every sentence with "ya fucks."
Well, it is Jersey.
It is Jersey. So yes, the Metal Hammer of Doom, Overkill, the Wings of War tomorrow, and then Thursday, provided all is well in the kingdom, we're doing Long Road to Ruin. We're bringing that back for a few episodes this year. Hellboy, 2004 and 2008. And then Friday, myself, Alexis Hana, and Robert Winfrey are back together again. And we'll be reviewing the Marvel Cinematic Universe Phase 2. Next week, it's tossed salad and scrambled eggs all over my plate. What is a boy to do? We've got source material, Green Lantern and Planet of the Apes. I will be at Whitesnake with my wife against her better judgment. And holding down the fort will be Robert Winfrey, Alexis Hana, and Mascot, young whippersnapper. He carries his books in a kerchief on a stick. Jason Teasley will be discussing Pet Cemetery. I heard it sucks.
I wish I would have rented it.
All right, then. And finally, another band that Ronnie Adams would tell you that I made up, but they've actually been around for many, many years now. Twar, T-Y-R, Twar. Their new album.
You obviously wanted to listen to Gwar and just couldn't get the album, and you made this one up. What are you reviewing? We're not Gwar.
Twar.
Gwar.
I'm not even sure that's how you pronounce it, because I've always pronounced it tier. But hold your heathen hammers high, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to go back to the Viking experience. Did you fucking see that, by the way?
What?
On Raw, they renamed the War Raiders the Viking experience.
No, I did not. That's stupid.
Yes, it is. Especially when we last saw the War Raiders, they were the tag team champions on NXT at NXT TakeOver New York, which was last weekend.
I mean, do they just obviously say, hey, you guys are going to get over if you go up? We're going to change your name to something completely stupid.
I honestly feel like Vince McMahon looks at the NXT roster and is like, hey, if we leave you alone just the way you are and let you keep doing what you're doing, you're clearly going to become fan favorites. So let's mess with you because we don't want it to be too easy and you become lazy.
I don't want Triple H to be right.
Yeah.
So let's change your names.
So here you are, your team fuck nugget.
And we'll take away these really cool looking hammers and give you these plastic Viking helmets with an upside down horn.
Thursday, April 25th, I'll be seeing the Avengers Endgame. If I haven't spoiled the whole thing by watching whatever release footage there is.
I thankfully could not find it because I couldn't stop myself from searching for it.
Yeah, me too. I was having a nervous breakdown this morning. The 26th is our last run up to Endgame. We'll be reviewing the Marvel Cinematic Universe Phase 3. The following week kicks off our tribute to all things Marvel and Avengers. Source material is Avengers Forever, Forever, Forever. All 87 issues of it. And then, of course, we'll be reviewing Endgame on the 30th. No Metal Hammer of Doom that week. We'll be reviewing The Orville. Have you been watching The Orville, like a good boy?
I have not kept up with it so far. The last one I saw was the very last episode. This is season 2, right?
Yep.
Yeah, the last episode of season 1 was the last one I saw. I'm pretty sure.
You need to get caught up. It's so good. It's fucking phenomenal.
I almost didn't watch it just because I saw it with Seth MacFarlane. I thought it was going to be Family Guy in space.
No, it's so good. It
really is.
That and Legends are like two best shows on TV right now. Speaking of which, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina Part 2 will be on May 2nd. Do we have anything on May 3rd? Fuck. May 3rd, nope. We finally take a break in podcasting on May 3rd. But on May 4th, one of two things will be happening. I will either be at a Kentucky Derby party and not allowed to leave because the party's still going hard, or I will be home, back in my back safe in my living room, and myself and Pat Mullen, Mr. Toxic Masculinity, will be checking out Canelo versus Daniel Jacobs on DAZN. You know what DAZN is?
Patrick Mullen, the Waldorf to Winfrey's Statler.
Have you heard of DAZN?
Isn't that thing from Pizza Hut that's not a calzone? Calzone? It's
DAZN is a fight app.
No, I haven't heard that.
So, yes, it's Tracy Morgan's out there stumping for it right now. It's an app that allows you to watch boxing matches and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool.
Wow, I'd actually be interested in that.
Yeah. So check out Canelo versus Daniel Jacobs Saturday, May 4th, right before Cinco de Mayo. All right. Go ahead and plug whatever you got going on with yourself.
Well, you said formerly of the Scream Boy podcast. It's true we have not done a show in a very long time, and I actually took a brief hiatus. When I say brief, it's been a little while, of podcasting. And that's because I've been trying to get some things right, some things straight, and rethinking everything that we're doing over at Scream Boy, which, as of right now, is still named Scream Boy. But in lieu of podcasting for right now, I am actually hosting on Twitch live D&D stream. It will be done at the local game store here in my town of Burlington, North Carolina, called Hypermind. We actually had a group of 6 people join us for a game this past Saturday when I was kind of testing it out. We will be doing it this coming Saturday because this is on Thursday. So it'll be this Saturday, what is today? The 16th. It'll be this Saturday, the 20-something, at 5 p.m., and it runs till about 9:30. Through the month of April, we'll be doing one-shots, just one-off adventures with different people at the table. Why am I doing live D&D streaming? Because I've rediscovered my love of D&D from back in high school and parts of college, and I realized that it can be done completely different from the way we were doing it then. Lots of storytelling, lots of character development, and just a lot of fun. It doesn't all have to be like number crunching and everything. Ronnie, will there be fights? Of course. We're still murder hobos at heart with Dungeons and Dragons, but there are critical thinking, tricks, traps, mysteries to solve, things like that. So we had a good game. I had a blast this past Saturday. So I will be dungeon mastering at Hypermind for the foreseeable future every Saturday from 5 to 9. And we will be posting that on the Scream Boy Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and on my Twitch, as well as YouTube. As soon as I figure out how I'm going to do YouTube, I will be posting all the videos on there as well for kind of a video on demand. As of right now, you can find the very first episode, which is we ran an adventure called Mask of the Worms, which our adventurers were hired by a baron to find his wife who'd been missing for about 48 hours. And we get introduced to some reoccurring characters that will be at the table, as well as probably new ones just about every week, hopefully. If not, you'll see the same people showing up, and it's going to be awesome because they were great people to play a game with. So if you like watching people, hearing people play, rolling the dice yourself, if you want to, give us thumbs up, critique us, whatever, be nice to us, just check it out on Twitch, SBP Ronnie, and then we'll be doing a lot more with it on social media.
All right, I want to thank Ronnie for coming out tonight and being my co-host for this show, because without him there wouldn't have been one, or there would have me going, I saw a movie, it was okay, some of it was gross, critics suck, it didn't make a lot of money. Good night, everybody. So
it was a 3-minute, 45-second episode of Damn You Hollywood. Wow, okay.
That'll be me farting on a snare drum for the next 45 minutes. Good night, everybody. So once again, thank you for Ronnie Adams for coming out of your hobbit hole to join me tonight. It was a pleasure having you. Wish we could have you on more. Thank you. So
You can count on it.
like I said, Robert Winfrey will be back next week, and then I'll be back in 2 weeks for Damn You Hollywood Avengers Endgame. Until then, we hope to offend you sometime in the near future.